Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Joining me today is Amar Singh. Amar is the founder of Australia's first and only Sikh charity called Turbans for Australia. They are a volunteer organization that is on a mission to do good across the Australian community by providing support to people in need. From delivering essential relief to bushfire victims to handing out free food hampers, Amar and his organization are busy 7 days a week, trying to make a positive impact on the society of Australia while promoting the ideas of tolerance and peace between different cultures. For his efforts, he was awarded the Australian of the Year award in 2023, setting an unprecedented example for all minorities. Amar is an immigrant from Indian Punjab, coming to Australia when he was only 15 years old. He has encountered racism and judgment during his younger years because of his faith and his appearance, but he has always responded to it with maturity and love. And this is what makes his story an essential one for all immigrants to know. As always, I thank you guys for your support. If you are new to the podcast, kindly consider subscribing. If you are already subscribed, kindly leave us a comment and a like. Your engagement with my videos is the only thing that helps this channel grow. Also, if you have not done so already, kindly check out all of our social media platforms for our short form content. All of the highlights from this conversation and all of my past conversations are going to be up there, so kindly do check that out. But anyways, without further ado, this is my conversation with Amar Singh in The Gap. Job Monday to Friday. This is kind of like a hobby that I do on the side.
Something to keep you out of mischief, right? So where are you originally from?
I'm from Pakistan.
Pakistan, right?
Yeah, nice. I'm from Pakistan, yeah. So, Turbans for Australia actually came about in my radar sometime around the bushfires.
Yeah, right.
Like I wasn't doing this at that point. I wasn't really doing this at that point. So, but Turbans for Australia, I recognized the name and the logo and the name of the organization around the time of the bushfires. That was when it really came into focus. And you guys did some really good work around that time. Like it was really widely recognized.
Yeah, well, that's what we do. You know, charity logistics is a big part of us. We're taking stuff to where it's needed.
Yeah.
So it's been quite full on.
Yeah, I can imagine. This might be part of my ignorance. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on and try to have this conversation with you was because I have very little idea about the Sikh community completely. As a whole, and that kind of makes me feel sad because I'm from the part of the world where Sikhism was actually born out of.
That's
right? Like Lahore is actually as big as any other Sikh center as can be, and it kind of makes me sad that just because of geopolitical reasons and historical reasons and politics, like that side of our history. Guru Nanak Sahab, all the other gurdwaras that we have in the Pakistan side of the border, even Ranjit Singh, the history of all of that, like Sikh pride, it's part of our history that I honestly believe, and there are thousands and thousands of other people in Pakistan like me who believe that this is part of our history that needs to be celebrated, that we need to teach and pass on to our children. But unfortunately, because of politics, that side has been kept away from us.
Anytime you mention India or Pakistan in one sentence, red flags go up.
Exactly.
And that's what it is, like it's just so nasty, but it is what it is. You have to support the right people.
Yep.
Like I recently supported Shahid Afridi Foundation.
Oh, did you?
Right. So I was their speaker in Sydney, Melbourne and Perth. So I got to spend a bit of time with them. And end of the day, it's about whatever makes a difference in average people's life.
Sure.
Like Shahid Afridi, he's done his bit.
Yeah.
He's made his money, he's made his glory. He didn't need to go out and start a charity and helping people.
Of course.
But if he is, we should all support him.
All support him.
Whatever he's doing, I can't be in Pakistan. You can't be in Pakistan in the areas he's going, or I can't be in Africa. If somebody's doing good work there, just support them. That's it,
That's it. That's it. Right. So tell me something about like the Sikh community as a whole within Australia, because compared to like the UK, for example, or Canada, you don't see as many Sikhs in Australia.
Yeah.
I think the community is relatively small over here. So, like, what can you tell me about the Sikh community in Australia? Like, is it massively in Sydney or Melbourne? Where is it centered? How do you go about that?
So the Sikh community in Australia has been here since 1844. That's when the first couple arrived in Australia.
Sure.
In Queensland. But after that, under White Australia policy, we were all British subjects.
Sure.
We were actually exempt. And that's how our people landed here from India and Pakistan and other areas, right? So they've been coming since then in the form of Cameleers and early hawkers.
Sure.
There's a lot of history on that. But coming into today's stage, the Sikh community is just under 250,000.
Okay, that's
Just
massive.
under a quarter of a million people
Right.
in Australia.
Yeah.
And we're spread out. A lot of regional population now
Sure.
because of the visa processes that are in place.
Sure.
Until about, I think, about 4 years ago, New South Wales and especially Sydney used to be the highest number of Sikh population
Right.
in Australia. But now that's been taken over by Melbourne.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, if you look at just across the road from here, Blacktown,
Yeah.
it's the second most Punjabi-speaking area.
Yeah. Okay.
Before it was number one. Now it's Tarneet
Okay.
in Melbourne. So that's how
Okay.
demographics have changed.
Sure.
And I think out of the 250,000 Sikhs, roughly, I would say a big chunk, over 70,000 people live in Victoria. That's huge.
It's a huge community over there, and like the community is active, such as yourself. They're actively involved in the Australian, social work and whatnot.
Yeah, I think it started like that now. I remember when I first thought of the idea, it was relatively new. And a lot of people, I remember even getting told off by some people in the community going, why are you spending all this money here? You should be doing something back in Punjab.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't live there. Although I've come from there, I live here. So as a local person, I've got to make an impact here.
Yes.
To where my kids are going to grow up, where I'm going to grow old.
That's it.
Where my home is now.
Yes.
We all
Yes.
belong somewhere in other part of the world, but
That's
this is
it.
home now. And that's what the whole idea was. And I've always been a volunteer ever since my sort of school days in Australia, right? From Sydney Olympics was the biggest gig I did.
Sure.
And other smaller things and just getting on with things, and then got sidetracked with work and personal life. And then finally started the charity in 2015 after, I guess, facing some racism.
Sure. Well, I definitely want to get into that bit, like the motivation for
Yeah.
the organization itself. But to contextualize basically where you're coming from and, who Amar Singh basically is, I want to get an idea of like just your early life, where you were born, where you were brought up, coming into Australia. Tell us something about that.
So I was born in India. I grew up in a small town called Nabha.
Nabha.
Which is a sort of a princely state back then, near Patiala. So it's sort of probably about 7 hours away from New Delhi,
Sure.
the capital of India. So I grew up there. I went to a convent school. So studies was, for every migrant, I think studies is a huge priority.
Sure.
So schooling was very good. I actually was in year 11 when we finally got our visas approved and whatnot. Then we migrated here. So that was a change. I came here as a 15-year-old, and then I went to school here. Instead of starting in year 11, I was told that, year 11, 12 are linked, so it might be better to start in year 10. Because we arrived in August.
Yep.
So I started in year 10 and then did year 10, 11, 12 onwards.
Sure. So what year was this when you first landed?
In 98.
98.
Yeah.
That's just the turn of the century.
That's right.
So that would have been a very different Australia back then, because around that time, around the 90s, not a lot of people, especially from the Indian subcontinent, were migrating to Australia. It was only, I think, after the Australian Olympics that Australia actually emerged as a destination for people to migrate to. Until then, people were going to like Canada or the UK or Europe, etc. So coming into an Australia that was not as multicultural back then, what was the culture shock like for yourself and for your family?
It was huge. I remember coming here, life was still normal. You still had everything around you, which was just as normal. Go to the weekend shops, do grocery shopping. That was one of the biggest things as an early migrant. We all used to go together as a family.
Sure.
Go do the grocery shopping, come home, and, sometimes you could afford a taxi. Otherwise, you're pushing the trolley home. And that's the struggle of every new migrant, or go on the bus. So it was very different. But I think in the society, there was a norm that, there was a perception from the wider sort of society back then that if you're here, you must assimilate.
Yes.
And that's where people from different ethnic backgrounds or religious backgrounds. And I want to point out one thing, that at that time, I didn't wear a turban, I didn't have a beard.
Okay.
So I looked like an average Joe walking the street, I had short spiky hair, a French cut, and that was me. But there was that norm that you have to fit in. I remember even at school, my name was changed to David. So the teacher said, your name's too hard to pronounce, we want to call you David. Oh. And coming from the sort of the Indian schooling where teachers are, next level to God, we're like, okay, the teachers have said it, we have to listen. And you oblige. And then it started appearing on my paperwork and everywhere else. And they're like, oh, hold on, what's going on here? And that was kind of a shock. And then when I went to TAFE, I said, look, this is my name. If you want to know who I am, you have to, address me with my name.
That's it. What course at TAFE did you decide to pursue at that time?
So there was a few. Originally, when I was in school, I wanted to join the police,
Oh, yeah.
which my mum and family didn't really like. They said, "Oh, it's dangerous." Da da da.
Yeah.
Then I wanted to be an aircraft maintenance engineer.
Mm.
So one of the options was to go to the ADF.
Yep.
And then I attended a couple of the information sessions, which used to happen in, I think, Parramatta back then, because they had an office here. So it was like, well, you'll be locked in with us for 6 years, and we'll, sort of put you in any base and move you around Australia. And that kind of was very hard for my family to separate. Go, like, you're the youngest child and whatnot, and we've just moved and we don't want to split the family again. So ended up starting off with Qantas in the engineering department as a young. They have a program going on. And then from there, I decided, instead of going into Mascot, back in the days, it was a huge difference, I got a job at Bankston Airport. So I worked there for a couple of years. And then that airline went bust.
Yeah.
And my career took a shape, career dive as well. And then I worked in public sector for a couple of years before starting my trucking business for some reason.
Sure.
And that's what I did for the last 20 odd years.
Sure. Do you have a large family here?
Yes, I'm youngest of 4 siblings.
Sure.
And now we all got kids and whatnot. So it's a big family.
Okay.
It's an average family for migrant families, I guess.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your parents. Like, what did your father used to do? Or tell me about them.
So my father just got here. He did normal odd jobs as any migrant would do.
Yes.
Managed to get his PR. Then we came on a family migration. Sure. And that was just a simple life back then. Yeah.
And your dad, back then, he did wear the turban and he had the beard?
No, he didn't. Like, he did when he was like a young person.
Sure.
But when he came here, he didn't.
Okay.
So it was very normal back in those days for people to not wear the turban.
Yes.
Cut, shave their beard or cut their hair.
Sure.
And I think the same goes for other communities who had religious attire.
Yeah.
They will soon get rid of it.
Yes.
And there was that push in society.
Yes.
Where it was like, well, you're here now, you have to accept the Australian way of life. Yeah. So taking on your cultural and passing on to your kids was not seen as normal. Because I saw that in my later part in public service where I worked for the RTA. Now it's called Service New South Wales. A lot of the people from, say, the Greek or Italian backgrounds and this European background would come, and you look at the license and go, oh, your name is different. It might be Dimitri, and you call Jim. So it was that thing, well, your name doesn't fit in, now you got to change.
Sure.
So a lot of that stuff was happening, and I think people let go a lot of their culture and language, and that was the hard part.
So it's really interesting to me. Like, your dad, like you said, he shaved his beard off, he didn't wear a turban, but then, and you said that when you came in, you were still an impressionable teenager at that point, right? So for you to come in and be part of a society that is forcing you to assimilate to a certain extent, changing your name, and and the thing with the Sikh community is that you guys are very easily seen because of the turbans and the appearance of a Sikh person holds a huge amount of importance within the Sikh culture, right? And like you said, you didn't used to wear a turban either. You just had a French beard. How did that realization, or where did that come from, that, this is my culture, this is something I need to preserve and pass down to my generations? Where did that come from?
I guess it all just is always around you. So, as one could appreciate being from an ethnic, background, your family starts to talk about marriage and this and this. So I sort of realized, that no matter how hard I try, I'm always going to be brown.
That's it.
Right? I'm always going to be Indian, Sikh and whatnot. So, and then I wanted to see what I wanted to have in my partner. Because initially, there is that, we're going to get a joint marriage, you're going to find a girl for you, a suitable person, And I said, so what do I want in my partner? That was the thing that changed me.
Sure.
And then, of course, realizing that my language is important. I still speak perfectly good Punjabi. I speak Hindi as well. But that was important to me. And then my faith came in a bit. So, like, if I want to go down that path, especially coming from a non-practicing person to a practicing person in the faith, I wanted my partner to be along the same line, instead of getting married to somebody and then after 5 years go, hey, by the way, I want to practice, because it changes a lot of dynamics in your relationship.
Yeah.
So I don't want to bring some person along to that journey where they weren't comfortable. So I said, I'm going to change myself first. And that's where the things happen. I started practicing my faith and then put on a small turban. That was my first thing. And I remember after, I think, a couple of weeks of not shaving, I had a very small growth on my face. And I went to the RTA and then I put on a small turban, which was actually a smaller one, right?
Yep.
And in my heart, I had this thing, somebody's going to stop me and go, what are you wearing? Why is this? Even at work.
Yep.
People didn't have that. So it was more inside me to say, hey, I'm not comfortable with myself. And that was that realization where I said, you have to be comfortable in your own skin. And no matter how hard you try to look different, you're not going to be that. You got to be comfortable with yourself. And that's where the journey started.
It's a very important point that you made. And I love that you're always going to be brown. You're always going to be your heritage, whatever you're bringing, right? So if you try to be something else, you're not going to be full of either one. You're always going to be bits and pieces of something that you're not. So instead of doing that, isn't it so much better to try to be the whole of what you actually are?
That's right. But I think that comes a bit later in life.
Yeah.
Because we were in that time where people said, oh, you're in Australia, I might speak English. Right? This is how we do things here. So there was that thing in passing comment that you always heard.
Sure.
Somewhere along the line, we flipped as a country. And I think probably Sydney Olympics was that era that changed Australia for good in accepting more cultures and saying people, hey, you're okay how you are. And then just after the Sydney 2000, we had September 11.
Yes.
And that really put a bad emphasis, not just on my community, but the Islamic community.
Yes.
So people saw an image of a person with a beard and a turban, some sort of cloth wrapped around the head, being the bad guys.
Yes.
And we've seen that repeat in Lynch Siege as well, where they showed that image of that person wearing some sort of turban.
Yeah.
And that sort of tarnishes the whole thing. And what you said previously, Sikhs are the visible minority.
Yes.
Yeah, same like the Muslim woman, they wear a hijab, or a Jewish person, they might wear a kappa.
Yeah.
Because you can't really hide your identity.
Exactly.
Right? So you were there, and that sort of changed the dynamics in a bit. And that's the sad part of life, but you got to turn that around.
Did you come across any active racism around that time, like after September 11th? Like around that time would have been the time when you actually decided on putting the turban on and, changing your appearance. So that would have been a real challenge to your resolve on what you wanted to do. So tell me something about that.
So I actually started wearing turban around 2003, I think end of 2003. So mine came a little bit later after that.
Sure.
So, but again, if you look at the visible minority, right? The first person to die from a hate crime was a Sikh in the US.
Yes.
A service station owner, he got shot by a random person.
Correct.
And the person didn't even know he was a Sikh. He just wanted to kill somebody who looked like the guy on TV. And
yes.
So that's the cost of our life.
That's
right. And coming in later part of my life, I have seen those comments where you're told you're a bloody terrorist. Go back home. And then that really bothers me because previously, I'm always going to be brown. My kids are going to be similar skin shade and facial features and whatnot, right?
Sure.
But where is home? I think my home is here.
Yes.
I feel my home is here. Yeah. But then somebody else is not convinced.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. And I don't want that label on me. So my kids are born, brought up here, And in many ethnic communities, you'll see that the kids might follow the religion or the faith or the custom or the culture. So my kid might grow up to be a practicing Sikh. He might have a beard and a turban. So people are going to say, hey, go back home. But he's born right here.
That's it.
So that graph that you're applying on people where you fit into society doesn't apply anymore. And that's been the main sort of turn point for me.
Right.
That you have to sort of take ownership of your society.
Yes.
And that's why I started the charity that we got to be part of furniture.
That's it. Like, unless you actually explain to people what the significance of that appearance is to you and to your faith, unless you actually tell them that this holds a very dear part of our heart, they'll never really understand. And it's always the fear of the other, isn't it? It's always the fear of the other. That caricature that you mentioned, like the face of terrorism, unfortunately became a man wearing a turban with a beard. And it was nowhere near the Sikh community at all. They were trying to depict something completely different, which in itself was wrong.
Yeah,
you can't put a label or a face to terrorism because terrorism an act that, look what happened in Christchurch, for example, right? Look what's happening in the world right now. You can't really put a label to it. But unfortunately, for whatever reason happened, the fact that you said that you had that awareness that unless I own this and unless I present it in the proper way that it needs to be presented and explained to the community, change will never come about. So kudos to you on doing that.
Oh, thank you. I think it's that power inside you. You've got to find it within you. Go, I'm going to do this. Roll up my sleeves and get on with it.
That's it.
And again, all of those norms in the society are set against us. What those people did with Al-Qaeda and whatnot. I mean, I'd say my experience is with majority, 99.9% of the Muslim community don't even support them.
Exactly.
Nothing to do with them. But here, Islam is in the limelight. And so is our community because we look like the Islamic people they see. Yep. So again, for an average person, they don't really know your name. They don't care. What's happening, Muhammad? Oh, my name is not Muhammad. My name is Amar, right? And it always gets confused for Omar as well because people think, oh, he looks Islamic, so must be Omar.
Yeah.
You know, there is those things because people take an uneducated guess.
That's it.
That's all it is. It's easier for them to put you in some sort of a corner in a basket because it's justified for them.
I call it a lazy assumption.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's very lazy to, you know, draw a conclusion on somebody's appearance, on, you know, somebody's religion for that matter completely. Like, people see what they see on mainstream media and TV, especially after 9/11, whatever they were told about Islam. And instead of going in and doing the research and actually understanding the crux of the matter, they actually took the lazy way out that, okay, whatever we're seeing on screen, that has to be the definitive truth.
That's it. The convenient answer.
The convenient answer. Know? Exactly. So while we're on the topic, this is something I wanted to understand for myself as well. Tell me something about the Sikh faith. I'm very fascinated by it. What are some of the basic principles of the Sikh faith? What is it that you guys hold near and dear?
Well, Sikh faith, for a start, started in your background.
That's it.
You know, Nankana Sahib.
Yes.
Lahore, right? That's where Guru Nanak was born. And it started from there. And as you know, Punjab was a united state back then, half in Pakistan and half in India.
Yep.
So we got drawn a line by some drunk colonial person, this is a new country now, and that's separated, you know. But Sikhism is a faith that's based on worship of God, and we believe all the different religions are ways of getting to God.
Sure.
Different paths that lead to the one
destination. The one truth,
right? And we don't believe in idol worship. We don't believe in rituals. It's a simple thing. You must meditate. As Sikhs, you know, we have a notion called Naam Japo, Vanshako Kirtakaro, right? So Naam Japo is meditate. Kirtakaro is earn honest living. Vanshako is share what you have with others. So those are the three key principles of Sikhism. But then also, you know, when you get baptized, you must pray. You must be a lacto-vegetarian, right? You're not allowed to eat meat. You're not allowed to do drugs or adultery. A lot of those things are not allowed. It's forbidden. Even as a baptized Sikh, I can't cut hair on any part of my body.
Sure.
So people say, hey, can you cut your hair? Like, no, it's not allowed.
Sure.
That's when you're baptized. But then again, with every other faith, you might be born in a Hindu, Christian, Muslim faith. If you're not practicing, you could be just doing your own little thing. But you still go back to the religion or the culture for ceremonies like weddings and other things, right?
Sure.
So our faith is very simple. We just believe in one God, and we have a huge emphasis on community service. That's why you see a lot of the Sikhs jumping forward when times are tough and go, we want to help. And again, it helps, you know, take away that myth that who are you, why are you here? This is a home. If there's an issue, I'm going to do my 2 cents worth.
That's it.
That's that, you know.
Sure. Perfect. I see a lot of overlap in there, like between the principles that you mentioned and the principles of Islam that we follow, like believing in the one God, not worshipping any idols, believing in the idea of charity, believing in meditation. Like prayer for us 5 times a day is what meditation would be to you, and reflection upon your own self. And the idea of, now, jihad is it's a very adulterated term in today's day and age.
Right.
People use that in the worst possible way. But if you go down to it, people don't really understand. Jihad actually literally means struggle. And the greatest jihad that is we're told in Islam is the jihad of the self. Struggling within your own self, struggling against your own ego and your desires and your, you know, everything that is sinful that goes on in your mind. The struggle against that is the greater jihad.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
The everyday vices, right?
Everyday vices.
Like we're sitting in a pub here.
Yeah.
Could be having a drink, but
that's
for us it's forbidden.
That's
right?
it.
That's what it is. For many people, it's just vices. And as a human being, those vices control you.
Yep.
And that's again, you know, we believe that the vices are one of the things that pull you away from God.
Sure.
From doing good.
Sure.
From being who you are and having a clean spiritual journey. You could be getting drunk and you're away from your source, away from your meditation, because whatever you molded your soul by meditating, by doing good, gets taken away.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things. But again, a lot of that apply to religious communities. But I think if you look at a social atmosphere as well,
yes,
you know, you don't believe in any God, that's fine. But if you get drunk, you do drugs, it's doing you bad. You know, in nowadays, in simple terms, if you're over the limit, you lose your job. You get arrested, you go to jail. You kill somebody, you're gone. You do drugs, you'll lose your work. You know, like in our world now, there's drug testing at every corner.
Every corner, yeah.
Every workplace has one.
Yep.
So again, those life choices, those vices will come and bite you if you are religious or not religious, or if you're just a normal Joe Blow on the street.
Yep.
It will come and back and bite you.
Yes.
You know, gambling, whatever it is, it'll hurt you one way or the other. And that's what I think religious communities fear, vices that they will take over our life.
Yeah.
So I think, I always say this, that every religion has so much good in it. We've got to find those similarities. the goodness.
And we need to focus on those overlaps.
That's it. And then the whole world will be a better place.
Absolutely.
Imagine if every Muslim, Jew, Hindu, Sikh, Christian went out there and did the best that their religion told them to be.
Exactly.
We could all be working hand in hand.
Absolutely.
To service humanity, to save our earth, to save our planet.
Which is ultimately the goal of every religion.
Every religion.
That is to save to serve humanity, not just one community,
That's right.
but to serve humanity as a whole. Yeah. Very nice. Another question I had, like this is again for my own personal understanding. Does the Sikh faith have any concept of like an afterlife, or like do you guys have a concept of what is beyond death?
Surely. So Sikhs believe that you get the human life after you've been through every other being.
Okay.
Basically, being a cockroach to a shark or a dolphin and
Sure.
right. You go through the whole life cycle that God has created, because again, God created everything. Right.
Sure.
So you go through all of those life cycles, and then you get the one life as a human being.
Okay.
Where it's your one chance to meditate.
Okay.
To wash away your sins. Right? So the one chance you get, you don't do good, you go back in the whole thing again.
Okay.
Right? And your afterlife, you pay for your sins.
Sure.
What you do today as a human being, you will pay for it. Either in this world or the next one.
Or the next one.
Right? Because you make a wrong choice, like we were just saying previously, you'll pay the bill. And that's what it is. So I like to think of religion as something modern. So if you put in that concept, people go, oh yeah, actually makes sense. Instead of just saying, oh, you'll be punished and you'll be thrown around some heaven or hell. It is right here.
Yes.
I get drunk today, I get pulled over. That's my hell right there.
That's
it. Outside this door.
That's it.
Right? Or I punch somebody here. That's my hell. I'm getting locked up. I lose my house. I lose my life, my work. So I bring that religion back to the simple terms. So if it told me to be calm and collective and be a better person, that's good enough for me. End of the day, as a human being, we're all broken inside. We need something to hold on to.
Right.
Something that tells us, hey, don't take this. It's not yours. Hey, don't do this. This is wrong. That's all we need. That spiritual guidance, we call it religion. Some people call it spirituality. Others might just call it being a good human being.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. I know many people who don't practice any religion. They drink. What our voices in my religion are perfectly normal in their life. They smoke, they drink, they eat meat, but yet they're good human beings.
They're good human beings.
So in my vision, in my life, I've seen people who roll up their sleeves, do work, and do good for others. In that sense, I respect them just as much as I respect a priest or any other religious person, because they are doing what they are doing, but then the choices they make are for themselves, not for me.
So speaking of doing good for the community and doing good for humanity, once you fully adopted being a practicing Sikh, you are in your faith and you're growing up. What was it that actually eventually led you to starting Turbans for Australia?
So it was always a thought in the head, how do we bring the community together to volunteer, to get together, to do something for a change? And with my experience in volunteering back in the days as well, I thought that was a great way. And also facing a lot of racism.
Okay.
It bothered me. You could be perfectly going about your day and somebody walks in, oh, you're a bloody terrorist. Ruins your day.
Absolutely.
And
as it should.
I shouldn't be putting up with this.
Yeah.
Whatever I dress, if I dye my hair pink or blue, or if I'm bold or if I'm hairy, my choice. Nobody should be judging me on my choice, whether it's based on religion, based on whoever I want to look like. And that really sort of was the catalyst to say people are judging you based on your appearance. So how do we bring those people together? And my journey started from media. One day getting frustrated and calling Ray Hadley live on air, say, hey mate, this is what we face. And he asked me, he goes, what do you wear? I said, I'm wearing shorts and t-shirt, driving a truck.
Sure.
I'm wearing a turban. And I asked, have you ever been to a Sikh community? He goes, no. I said, well, you should. He goes, in fact, I was in the Commonwealth Games in New Delhi. I didn't get a chance. I said, well, mate, we're here to stay. Yeah. So you pick a temple, you want to come and visit, and we'll host you. Yeah. And then a couple of months later, after the footy season was over, his staff rang me. They said, Ray wants to come out. And that's how the journey started. Sure. I think I'm the sort of guy that takes it head on. So I thought, if I can, change the perception of a media person, not that he had any perception against my community, but somewhere along the line, us as religious or migrant or ethnic communities don't do ourselves a justice as well. We put up these walls and facades too high. We should open it.
That's a very valid point.
We should open our floodgates, mate. Hey, all come in. Yeah. Like I always tell this in my community. If you're holding a community event, if you're holding a religious event or whatever it is, your real outcome, your real achievement is how many non-Sikhs came to that event. If you're just going to celebrate among yourself, I mean, gather 1,000 Pakistanis or Sikhs or Indians any day, given day. But what's the point?
What's the point?
We need that bonding within our community as well. Yeah. But the real outcome of that should be how many other people knew about our culture. How many people actually learned something that, during Ramadan, we all sit down, share a meal. Or during Guru Nanak's Gurpurab, the birth, that this is what we do. Or during Easter, this is what we do. That's the real outcome. And that's where others should be more welcome than our own people.
Yeah.
So that's what I believe.
No, that's a beautiful, beautiful thought. I think that's a very valid point that you mentioned, that it is because you are the one who has immigrated to a new country. And it is not completely the people who are indigenous to Australia or, people who have been here for a long time. It is natural for anybody to have a fear of the other. So unless you actually open up those walls, as you said, and you welcome them in, and you actually represent what the best part of your culture or the best of your religion is, or what you guys have to offer as a community, and that can be any religion, any community, any background. Unless that is done, we cannot actually form real cohesion between the cultures. That's a beautiful thought. So, okay, that's where Turbans for Australia, I'm assuming it wasn't a proper organization at that point. That was just the inspiration for what you wanted to do.
That just frustrated me, getting on that open line, hey, ring this guy,
Yeah.
But then Turbans for Australia eventually after that. Because in the community as well, people said, this is great, for our community to be heard and their opinion matters, and somebody from the media listening to us that has the power over people.
Yes.
So that's where Turbans for Australia originated from.
And what year was this?
2014, right in the end of it, and then 2015 we started the charity.
Okay. And once you started the charity, like, is this something that you went completely full time on? Like, what was the idea? What was the plan there?
Well, I was sort of doing full-time trucking and full-time charity. I was running my business plus family commitments and the charity. But again, back then we were small. So we just started off in 2015. There was a lot of talk about the drought. And it was pretty severe in our states around New South Wales and Queensland.
Sure.
So I thought, why don't we go help? So we got together and we started raising some funds. Yeah. So hey, we're doing this food drive to Dubbo. And we spoke to the Salvation Army. Said, I would love to host you. Okay. Because they just assumed we're going to turn up with a carload of groceries. But we had a big Mercedes van full of groceries, a four-wheel drive and a trailer.
Wow.
Like over $3,500 worth of groceries. And we just took all of that. And the best thing was, so there's a bunch of Sikhs in a Salvation Army church, the chaplain's there, and he rang me. He goes, Amar, I guess you're Sikhs, so you're vegetarian. I said, yes. I'll order some Indian meals from the local restaurant. He did. And then as we were sitting around the table, he goes, would you mind if I say a grace? I'm like, no, all good.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, in Sikhs, we have a final prayer called the Ardas.
Okay.
Right? Which is after every main prayer. It's sung out loud and everyone stands up. So the words in part of that Ardas is, they repeat some of the things from history about your, what you want from Almighty. And then there's things that, bless the people that have come to the congregation. Bless the people who've donated. Bless the food. And the chaplain was saying the same things. So while he's praying, we're all like, oh my God, there is that Italy. Because I've never been to a grace before.
A grace before,
right?
Yeah.
Nobody said that because it wasn't the thing we did. So again, what I think is normal, what I thought I'm okay, I'm comfortable, it's not. You've got to go out and seek that truth. And that really was like an eye-opener for us. So we all enjoyed a meal, we all had a good chat, and then we came back. And that's how Turbans, sort of the first project was.
Yes.
And being from trucking, we always thought, let's just go out to people, drive and make a difference to where it's needed. Soon enough came our second project, the Hay Run, where we went to Canamble, some 800 k's from Sydney into Western New South Wales.
Sure.
And just that's how it sort of eventuated.
Okay. And from one project to the next, and that would have started establishing your organization, as a credible charity as well. Okay, so tell me something about the bushfires, because that is when Turbans for Australia actually shot more into prominence than anything else, I believe. We widely saw, the news covered it very extensively as well. So tell us something about the bushfire season.
Bushfires was a crazy time.
Oh, well, absolutely.
In fact, how it started in the background, we had a street procession, right, in Liverpool. So we had a bit of funds left over. And I thought, look, the bushfires were starting out. Why don't we, actually, whatever funds we got left over, we donate to that. So again, we order supplies from Costco. Hey, can you give us $1,000 worth of noodles and 1,000 of this, right?
Yep.
And that's how we did. And they put it all on pallets, and we got to Costco and loaded up our truck. We went up north first.
Sure.
and that was to Tari, Coffs Harbour and Tenterfield.
Mm.
So we tied up with charities there. And again, one thing I want to point out, charity is not a competition. It's not a corporate war where I'm going to, acquire every little thing that's there and go, I'm the big guy now.
Mm.
It's about helping people on the ground, people who know what their community needs are. So when we land in a town, it's always finding those local partners. When the stuff is off our trucks, it's not our problem. In a good way. You know what Paul needs and you know what Peter needs. You allocated it. Right? And that's how it started. And the bushfires was no different. Again, it was the Guru Nanak's message of Wonder Shakal. Serve the community. Yeah. We've got to go, we've got $10,000 left. Let's just keep it for next time.
No.
We gave that back. And I think it's blessings of Guru Nanak. Him, we have the concept of Tera Tera, right? The seva. It all came in, the volunteer work. And then from there on, we went to 22 trips of multiple trucks and vans heading out.
Within that one season?
Yeah, within the whole bushfire.
Wow.
We had police escort at times because the highway was shut. The winds could turn and the fire would ravage. Either way.
Yeah.
There were still houses burning. Like going to small towns, normally the highway goes right in the heart of the town. You see everything just gone.
Sure.
The shops, the houses, trees are still burning. For the first time I saw, street signs melted. All of this, there were just little things go, wow, they still stick to you.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was sort of our journey, and bushfires was that time where we just kept going. And again, media really helped us get the message out. I remember many people saying, hey, I want you to take my $50 because I know you're going to be in a truck next week helping those people.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what we did.
Yeah, yeah. So, and looking at all of these news reports on TV is one thing, but to actually go down there and, like you said, to see it for yourself firsthand and see those people who are actually affected by a natural catastrophe such as that, it sticks to you. And then when you see that you can do a little bit, your bit, to make their lives a little bit easier or put your help out, I think that reinforces the resolve in what you're doing.
It definitely does, mate. You still, come back to a warm bed.
Yes.
And a food on your table.
And a safe house.
Safe house. But those people have lost everything.
Yeah.
And it's scary. Like when you go out, like there's times we were out for 30, 40 hours. We were out for 2 days.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, hey, get in a truck and the camera guys shoot you, loading the truck and you're gone. You got to plan everything. There's hours and hours of work. Load the trucks. Get there, plan ahead, and then unload, and then come back. So sometimes, like, we were gone for 36, 40 hours at any given time.
Sure.
From door to door.
Sure.
So it's putting your life on the risk.
And this is all...
I could be just sitting at home watching Netflix.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that, right? But it's just that notion that we want to help.
And this is all voluntary work. Nobody involved in this was paid for anything.
No,
it was all completely volunteer work.
Volunteer work. We called upon my mates, hey, I need a truck. Yeah, I'm happy. People wanted to volunteer. They came along. Because we were turning up to towns with nothing. There was nothing there.
There was nothing there.
And just going to the evacuation centre, unloading the trucks by hand. That's what it was. Well, unload one truck here, park it up. The guys can jump in the next van and then we go to the next town. I remember we were in Ulladulla one time and we got a call. A chopper had just crashed in the local reservoir.
Okay.
Up near, I think it was Narooma or further past towards Victoria, but in the southern side of the state. And they're like, hey, we need water.
Yeah.
We had half a truck of water.
Yeah.
So we sent it up there.
Yeah.
This is what you need on the go.
Sure. The bushfire season concluded, and then obviously the good work that you guys obviously did that was out in the community. And now Turbans for Australia had a name out in the community as a force for good. At that point, like, tell me what's going on through your head at that point that, okay, now this is something that I started for the betterment of the community. This is something I started to send the message of Sikhism across to the larger Australian community, right? At that point, after you have that media exposure and now Turbans for Australia is a credible name, tell me what's going through your head that, okay, what's the plan? What's the greater vision now?
The greater vision is still to help people.
Yeah.
And one thing that came along this whole exercise is people from all walks of life joined hands, to do good for society. Again, what I said previously, people from all faiths and no faiths came together. In fact, one little story, there's a guy that went to our temple in Shepparton in regional Victoria. He connected with me through the droughts and he took a 6-pack of beer. He didn't know. Like, mate, I went to your temple and they were telling me off and they kicked me out. I was like, calm down, what happened? Yeah. I just took a 6-pack as a thank you. It was one of those things. Yeah. But again, that's the person's culture.
Yeah,
they thought, I'll take a 6-pack and be generous.
That's it.
But again, that's the sort of people you reach out to. It's been a huge learning curve.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy in a way. Turbans for Australia, it was, although it's a Sikh charity, started from very small, basically nothing.
Yeah.
now we represent our society.
Sure.
We have people from all faiths, all backgrounds come together and work, be it the Church of Scientology, be it the local mosque or the church or the Hindu or the Sikh community, whoever wants to help, mate, put some gloves on and grab packing hampers. That's what we do every week.
Amazing. So tell us something about the current projects that you guys are working on. What's your main focus these days?
So currently we are still providing relief hampers due to rising cost of living. Since the lockdown, we thought, there'll be probably, a little demand for it, but it just keeps going. And that's the scary part of it. So the demand for hampers is still ongoing, and every week. In fact, I was there this morning. We serve a couple of hundred people. Sure. We have a warehouse in Sydney, one in Melbourne, and we're looking to go national. Sure. So my vision is to set up these community hubs because we are a big country. We need those trucks and infrastructure behind it. When disasters happen, we want to roll out quickly and help people.
Sure. And in that, one of the points that I wanted to make with this podcast was that if anybody out there listening to it in the community, they want to reach out and they want to help and play their part. Do you guys take on volunteers? Do you guys, how can anybody reach you if they want to help?
So we're always looking for new volunteers. So anybody that wants to help, they can join us, shoot us an email or text through social media, how you want to help. And we love new volunteers. Sure. So this is the whole exercise. I think people coming and joining forces with us and coming in and seeing what's happening on the ground and making a difference. I always encourage people to bring their young kids. Because I think it's very important that we teach those young ones what society is like. The food you're rejecting on the table, somebody's lining up somewhere to pick up a hamper. So food is very important. And again, the cost to our planet, to our society. And I think it's also bridging the gap. One thing I always see that people that receive help from us, they're no different. They're just human beings just like you and me. They're just going through a tough time. A lot of people think, people are doing this or X, Y, Z or taking advantage. There is a small percentage. I don't ignore that. They will take advantage. Oh, something's free, I'll go grab it. But what about the other 95%?
Who are deserving?
I've had people who pick up hampers from us and they break down to say, thank you, I've been relying on this. This is all I have. People, young couples, elderly, disabled, refugees, homeless, you name it, they're there.
Sure.
And that represents a very wide section of our society, of what our issue society is. So cost of living is really crippling people at the moment, and we're there to help. And I think if somebody wants to donate in terms of goods or donation, or time, please reach out. But all of those things are important. We can have all the money in the world, not have volunteers. We need those hands. We know those people. And corporates. If you want to donate items in bulk, especially non-perishable food items, give us a call. That's why we have those warehouses. We can take big donations.
So if anybody's listening to this and wants to get involved, I leave the details for Turbans for Australia's website, your contacts and everything. It should be on the screen right now, and I'll also leave it in the description for this video. If anybody wants to reach out, I think Turbans for Australia is absolutely beautiful, the work that you guys are doing. And, I wish you guys all the power, and, I hope you guys continue to do the amazing work that you guys are doing.
And again, like you said, so if you want to donate, you can go to our website. All donations are tax deductible. But I want people to come out to our warehouse, see what's happening on the
work that you guys are doing.
So come out and say hello to us. We'd love to have you there.
Okay, now I eventually want to get to the biggest story. The biggest story is then the recognition that eventually comes after all of your hard work, right? So when did you actually first find out that you were being nominated for the Australian of the Year award? How did that come about? What was the story there?
So it's a pretty crazy journey in a good way, right? So what happens is, first you get nominated. One of my friends actually nominated me for it. I find out months and months after. So he nominated me, and then it goes to a panel, and then you get being a finalist for the state. So each state has their own awards first. So each state has their own awards first. And then those finalists, a person will win from the state. And those winners automatically go into the national. And that's the Australia Day Award that happened on the 25th of Jan in Canberra. So you represent your state, and then people are picked out of that. I was actually, if you honestly ask me, I was happy being a finalist. I thought, oh wow, somebody's recognized us. Because there were two incredible ladies in my cohort, and I was like, I hope they win. And lucky I got it, and I was like shocked. Say, oh my God, he's huge. Even coming as a migrant, Australia Day Awards is something like, you think, up here.
Absolutely.
For a migrant, a person from my background to win it, I was like, wow, blown away by it. You know? And then going into the national, again, I had no expectations. I was just there to have fun. You know, my family went with me for the first time. You know, my wife could see the other side of what I do.
Yeah.
And my little one, or my older child, was with me. And we had a good fun for a couple of days in Canberra, attending all those events and meeting all the people. But yeah, and then Prime Minister announced my name. I was like, wow, he's crazy.
Amazing.
And then the journey just started from there.
Amazing. Yeah, it's kind of like, out of all of the work that you're doing, it's kind of validation that comes from the Almighty, basically, for all the work that you do and everything. It's charity work is just that. It is charity. It's not for any end, and any end that you're seeking. Basically, it's for the goodness of what you want to put out into the community, and to get some of that validation back. I was actually doing some research on, you know, the Australian awards and, you know, you winning it. It actually turns out you are the first Sikh person who has ever won the Australian of the Year award in the country.
The national one, yeah. So there's a guy who actually got the NT one
a
couple of years ago, but then I'm the first one to win the national one.
Amazing.
You know, again, I just didn't have expectations. I remember, so what happens is they have a whole structure behind the place, right? Everyone gets asked to write a speech because they don't tell you who's winning. So I was getting haggled, like, write a speech, Amar. They're like, I'm not winning. I'm just here to party, have fun.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe it. I wrote that speech on the morning of the awards.
Sure.
They're like, you have to write it. I was like, oh my God, I'm not winning. I know for sure. And then Prime Minister announced my name. I was like, God, you know, but I think the whole journey, again, charity is not, I've been this award, I'm set. It's not about that. I'm the guy that is still, you know, packing the bins or packing the hampers, jumping on the forklift, driving the truck. Because that's what I would like to do.
Sure.
Hands-on, like every Sunday, you know, since the lockdown started, it's committed to this. In the lockdown where people were sitting at home, hiding away from things, our team was there 7 days a week. We'll go out there in the danger when you can't really smell the danger in COVID or see the danger. It was there in the air.
Yeah, that's
Could be right here.
That's it.
You know, we were out 7 days a week.
Sure.
Packing hampers, and then I'll come home and have a shower, you know, put the clothes in the laundry, and then actually meet my kids. It was that tough time. And we were actually 7 days because we knew what we were doing was very important. Yeah. People were counting on those things.
Sure.
People would order meals with us in the morning. Sure. Hey, I need 50 meals for the community that I'm serving. Or we did the quarantine hotels.
Yeah.
The flights from India came. Yeah. And a lot of the vegetarian people were just given salads.
Right.
And this is all the high-end hotels in Sydney, right?
Yeah.
So we started serving them. Yeah. Each meal would have to be labelled with room, name, email, what. And we have to go to the police, and then they'll take it to the hotel. Within because there were quarantine zones.
Yeah.
And delivering to 10, 15 hotels in the city.
Wow.
Every afternoon.
Can't imagine. Must have been very
hundreds of meals just for that program, right?
And every single day.
Every day.
Wow.
And then we had the housing commission, communities and homeless meal providers, because they all of a sudden couldn't get meals from takeaway shops or clubs or whatever was supporting them before. Sure. Well, they were all shut. Sure. So there was a huge gap.
Sure.
And that's what we're trying to cover.
Sure. So for anybody listening, any younger person who's wanting to get started in social work or community work, based on your experience, what is the advice you could give to anybody who's starting out with charity? Somebody might not have the same mission as what you have. They might be doing it for something else. But what are some of the pitfalls, some of the unknowns that you later realize that, if I knew this before, it would have made my work a lot more easier?
I don't think I've had any pitfalls, to be honest, because it's just been a whole emphasis to help others.
Sure.
So I reckon, and this is one thing I'm very passionate about. I do a lot of school talks as well, right?
Sure.
I want our young people to take society head on. I want them to volunteer, make the place a better place. Because, in those young nurseries, the schools and universities are future leaders, future decision makers, right? Future prime ministers and doctors and engineers and people who are going to be part of our society.
Sure.
I want them to know that volunteering and serving others is a key part of life.
Sure.
Because you can be the biggest CEO if you have never ever helped a person. I think as a human being, you've failed. So my advice is simple: go out and volunteer. Don't think, like the saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day. Nothing's going to happen overnight. Sure. I'm still out there doing all the things that people think, so you were just speaking at an event. No, previously you should have seen me. I changed in the public toilet. I was packing hampers. Sure. Because there's that work. And it's a passion-driven industry sector, I can say. It's not something you just do 9 to 5 and go, that's it. Sure. My number is listed everywhere. People call me random hours of the day or text me or email me and they want a response. Right. That's how it works.
Amazing. Amazing, Amar. Once again, this has been very enlightening chat. This is a conversation I had been chasing for a while.
Yes.
Ever since I saw you on LinkedIn on the work that you guys have been doing. You guys started doing the work, around, like you guys got highlighted around the bushfires. That's when I first heard about Turbans for Australia. I started this podcast about 1 year ago.
Yep.
And Turbans for Australia and yourself, you were one of the guests that I really, really wanted to get on. And it's been a dream episode for me to have you on and, share your story with the people, with the wider audience. And if I can play even a small bit in getting the Turbans for Australia message out there, and if this can result in somebody helping you guys out, I mean, that's my job done.
Oh, that's at the end of the day, look, this is not a competition. That who's the best podcast, who's the best charity. We're all doing our bit. And we all got to come together to be part of that big picture.
Yeah.
We each hold a part of the puzzle.
Yeah.
We've got to put that puzzle
That's
in
it.
to get that picture right.
That's it.
And again, you helping us, somebody else doing it, what Ray Hattie did for us, what media has done for us, what community organizations have done for us.
Sure.
What an average person say, hey, I can't do much, but here's a $50.
Sure.
I've actually got a story.
Sure.
Remember in our hay run, there's a lady that ran from East Lakes, right? In around the city near Maroubra. She's like, I've got this last $50. And I said, thank you for your donation. You can put it online in our bank. And she goes, love, I'm 84. I don't have internet banking. You're going to have to get somebody to pick it up.
To pick it up from me. Oh.
Right? So I send a volunteer to pick up that donation. I still have the photo of the envelope.
Right. It's beautiful.
Right? That is my investment. That's what the good karma I get from people, their blessings and their love.
That's it.
Right? And it keeps us going.
That's it.
So this is a journey.
Yeah.
And you know what? You don't know where this journey is going to take you.
Yeah.
Because this is not something you structure and go, I'm going to be here in 2 days and 5 days or 2 years.
Yeah.
This is something that just happens by itself.
Yeah.
All you got to do is put it in the hard yards.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing and everything will fall in place.
Yeah. And, I just want to add one thing that with the work that you're doing, obviously you're helping the people that you're helping. That's making a huge difference in their life. But in trying to represent the Sikh community, you're doing a great service to the immigrant community as a whole. You're putting immigrants in the limelight. You're putting immigrants as within the fabric of Australia, people who are making a huge contribution to the society. And, we as immigrants, we all thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you, mate. I think we've got a great story to tell.
No, amazing.
And we've played a very important role. You know, I've said it in my speeches that, our people who come from great academic backgrounds, are the security guards, are the cleaners, are the taxi drivers.
Yeah.
Because they just want to put food on the table for their families.
Yes.
So they have given the sacrifice and they have a right to enjoy life, to be treated with respect.
With respect.
And that's what whole life is about.
100%.
So I think all of our people who were here before us, our indigenous people that came, in the first fleet, people that are coming, somebody's landing right now, I guess, starting this whole journey that you and me started many years ago.
Sure.
And that's perfectly normal. We welcome you all.
Sure.
You're all part of the story and you all make this country a great place.
Amazing. I normally end the podcast with one final question for all of my guests, right? So Amar, based on your whole life experience, right? You're growing up in India, coming to Australia, tackling the issue of the culture shock and the racism that you might have felt early on, embracing your Sikh identity, embracing your faith, learning to be comfortable in your own skin, and then the work that you've done with Turbans for Australia, the Australian of the Year award, and the work that is still ongoing and the work that you're doing. Based on all of that, what is the one nugget of truth that life has taught you that you can pass on to people?
I always believe that, you either win or you learn from everything out of life.
Sure.
So it's not like I failed. No, you win. You learn how to get it right the next time. So for me, it's a simple theory. Like, you just be yourself, help out, and don't overthink. Because people sometimes procrastinate and think, I'm going to get this right. I'm going to do this. Go out there. Small steps will lead to big.
Yeah.
So go out there, do what you want to do, help out, and actively participate. Because nothing is going to happen with you sitting at home.
Yeah.
No matter if it's academic or work or personal life.
Yeah.
Go out there, have a go. And that's what this is about.
Amazing. Beautiful point to end on. I wish you and Turbans for Australia all the power in the world. The good that you're doing, I hope you multiply it 10 times, 100 times. And I'll be leaving a link to Turbans for Australia and to Amar's profile in the description for this video. It should be appearing on the screen right now. If anybody wants to get in touch as a volunteer, or you just want to donate, or you just want to find out about the organization and the amazing work that these people are doing, or the Sikh community, do reach out. It's an amazing platform, and I wish them all the success in the world. So until next time, if you guys have not done already, here is all of the links for all of our social media accounts, all of our short form content, all of the highlights from this conversation and from my past conversations are going to be up there. So do check that out. Until next time, this has been In the Gap. I've been Hussain, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.